Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and you got to stop what you're doing to hear this, because what happened this week could end up being one of the biggest political stories of the year. A major congressional report was just released from the House Oversight Committee examining allegations of fraud in Minnesota's taxpayer-funded programs. Now, within hours, Vice President J.D. Vance publicly referred Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison to the Department of Justice for further review and investigation. Now, whether anything ultimately comes from that investigation remains to be seen, but here's what caught my attention. Walz and Ellison, we now know, knew about massive widespread fraud in Minnesota's welfare programs as far back as 2019. So we're talking $9 billion in Medicaid-related fraud, $300 million in child nutrition funds, all of it stolen. Now, state employees tried to blow the whistle, and they were intimidated by their superiors. They were retaliated against. They were silenced. The state had obviously full legal authority to stop payments to suspected fraudsters at any time, and they chose not to. Why? Because they were afraid of political backlash. They let billions flow to criminal networks to avoid bad headlines. And then finally, feeding our future, right? The $250 million child nutrition fraud. Well, the ringleader there just got sentenced to nearly 42 years in prison. She was claiming to feed children who didn't even exist. The money went to, luxury cars, real estate, lavish lifestyles. And here's the kicker. Within hours of that report dropping, Vice President J.D. Vance, chairman of the White House Task Force to Eliminate Fraud, personally referred Walz and Ellison to the DOJ's brand new fraud division for criminal investigation. Have a quick listen.
I guess now I can make a bit of breaking news because I left the White House to come here to do this interview with you. And before I did, we actually referred this particular case to the Department of Justice for full criminal investigation. We are not going to do what the Biden administration did and make judgments of the law before all the facts are in. But here's what's particularly troubling about this to me is Jesse, you had people within Governor Walz's office who were saying, you know what, this looks like fraud. It looks like these Somalian illegal immigrants are doing something that's very shady. And then you had people who shut them down, who shut these whistleblowers down and said, you're a racist or you're a xenophobe for asking questions about where taxpayer money is going. What that means to me, Jesse, is that clearly people weren't taking fraud seriously. Whether it rises to the level of a criminal violation, we're going to investigate it. And of course, if it does rise to that level, we're going to prosecute it. We have to.
So Vice President Vance said it himself. Minnesota state officials are not above the law. Ironic, right? They must face justice. So let's see if Tim Walz can escape a criminal referral from the Vice President of the United States himself. So this, to me, feels like it's an awakening. And unfortunately, Minnesota is just the beginning. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says 10% of the entire federal budget is being stolen through fraud. That's over $600 billion every single year. And while politicians and the media personalities are debating those allegations, ironically, they continue to trade stocks on the side with an alarming success rate. While Americans struggle with inflation and the rising cost of living, members of Congress continue to outperform Wall Street year after year. And the worst part, it's all perfectly legal. To help us understand how all this works, I've invited my good friend back, Ross Givens. Ross is a former vice president at J.P. Morgan Chase. He spent more than a decade tracking congressional and corporate insider trading disclosures. And Ross has a very unique perspective on this. He's the only person I've ever met who likes insider trading, besides the politicians, of course. And that's because, according to him, regular folks like you and me can make a fortune on it, since these trades are all public information. He says we could just buy the same stock and follow along. In fact, he's hosting a free live online training event for my audience this Thursday, June 25th at 3 p.m. Eastern, where he's going to show you exactly how this works and how ordinary Americans like you and me can use public information to become more profitable investors. Click the link in the description below or just go to turleytalksinsidertrading.com. POWERLESS.com. You do not want to miss this. Ross, my friend, welcome back. Great to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Dr. Steve.
It's always good to see you. So look, let's start with the big picture here, because a lot of Americans are watching these fraud investigations and they're hearing about congressmen making millions of dollars cheating the stock market, and they feel like the game is rigged.
Yeah.
So as someone who's been involved in the stock market for decades, what would you tell them?
On the rig, well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, no, the stock market is not some, great big mystery that is rigged in favor of a handful of wealthy investors. Now, I get how people can develop that view. The news recently, we've got Elon Musk becoming the world's first trillionaire.
Right.
But they forget about the man's losses. I mean, he was down $200 billion in 2022 when Tesla stock got hammered. He holds the Guinness World Record for the largest loss of personal fortune in history. I'm not kidding. You can look that up. So, But if you're talking about the politicians, yes, absolutely. And there's a level of frustration from that appearance of kind of two different systems. I don't know if you saw this. There's a famous short seller named Andrew Left. He was just convicted of securities fraud. He's facing 25 years in prison. And the court says that what he did is use his reputation in the financial world as this skilled analyst to put out these reports about these companies that would move the stock prices, and he'd make money off that. And I just find this so ironic because meanwhile, we have members of Congress operating in this environment where they have access to unfathomable inside information. I mean, federal briefings, committee discussions, government contracts, the list goes on. And they know this stuff long before the public hears about them. And as you mentioned, they just do so well. I mean, we've got some of the best stock pickers on earth in Congress. I brought a photo for you or a graph. This is QuiverQuant's Congress buys strategy. So all it does is follow these congressional trade disclosures. It buys what they buy. Now, the stock market is that line underneath. So they're up like sixfold in the last 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, that's, it's right there. It's hard to argue with. So tell me how Congress is able to produce these kinds of returns. This seems to go way beyond Warren Buffett here. And this is not just for it's an entire group of people who are consistently able to outperform the market at this level for this long. I mean, it just seems impossible. Walk us through it there.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine that you're a member of Congress. You sit on a defense committee or an energy committee or a financial services committee. Every week you're receiving briefings. You're meeting with the leaders of that industry. You're discussing new regulations you're going to pass that will have huge benefits to certain industries and certain companies. You're even deciding where billions of dollars in federal contracts are growing. Now, again, none of that is illegal, right? But you have this massive informational advantage.
Yeah.
The average American investor out here working off the BS inflation numbers the government's feeding them. Inflation is not 3%, or we know it's far high. We feel it every day. Yeah. But we got our elected leaders out here who were loading up on semiconductor stocks before passing chip legislation like Pelosi did. She made millions. Gil Cisneros, who's a California Democrat, he invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, Dr. Steve, into defense stocks this year, right before the Iran war.
Oh, man.
This guy sits on the House Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence and Special Operations Subcommittee. I mean, how is he allowed to do this? It's ludicrous. So the only silver lining to all of this is that they, as you said, they do have to report their trades. All we do is follow along. We just piggyback their moves. And it works.
And it works. That's the thing. I've seen you do it now for years. I mean, you turn lemons into lemonade, as I like to say it. I absolutely love it. And I thank you for teaching other people how this works. You've done a few of these training sessions for our viewers, actually dozens, if I recall, all for free. And the feedback has just been overwhelmingly positive. We all know this stuff is happening. But most people don't realize that we can actually see it and use it for ourselves. It's all public information to turn something negative and unethical into something positive and profitable for patriots. So I'm curious, if these trades are all publicly disclosed, why don't more people do this? Why don't more people just follow along and piggyback? Why don't people just learn to trade like Pelosi?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And the reason is the information is essentially buried. I think intentionally. I mean, the disclosures absolutely exist, but they're scattered across databases, and there's forms and filings and government websites. Like there's one website for the Senate, there's one for the House, there's a whole nother one for their officials. Most people don't have time to go hunting through all that. And even if they did and they find the stuff, they don't know what they're looking at, which transactions are meaningful. Not every buy matters. Not every sale matters. All you want to do, and what we do, honestly, just look for the really obvious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So like Representative Susie Lee, I think we talked about this a couple of months ago, but she sits on the House Appropriations Committee, specifically the Defense Subcommittee, right? So that's the panel that writes the annual defense spending bill, where the money goes. Now, this woman is not an active trader like Pelosi. She hadn't bought any stock in years, not one. And then she goes and buys one stock. Remember this?
Yeah. The German
she buys,
company.
Yeah, the one stock she buys in 3 years, not Google, not Microsoft, not Home Depot or Amazon, Rheinmetall, which is a small German arms manufacturer. So,
like I said, it sounds like a heavy metal band, Rheinmetall.
Yeah. But I mean, she's writing the defense budget. She buys one stock, and it's a foreign defense contractor.
Right.
It doesn't even trade on the U.S. exchange. It's an over-the-counter stock. You got to jump through hoops to get it. It's a very odd pick. And look at what happened next. So, again, if you're picking defense stocks, it helps to be the ones deciding how we allocate the defense budget.
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so what you're going to teach everyone, this free training here, is how they can actually follow along with picks like that.
That's right.
And
yeah.
benefit themselves from it.
Yeah, I'll show you where the databases are, how to find it, what our biggest winners have had in common. It's really obvious stuff. Most people just need someone to kind of lay it out for them and show them how that works. So it is this Thursday, June 25th, 3:00 Eastern. I'll walk through the entire process, how these congressional disclosures work, how corporate insider disclosures work, how to spot the really meaningful trades, the big buying activity, and how we've used these strategies for years. The goal is to copy every trade, be in front of the computer all day, looking at a million monitors. All we're trying to do is just find 3 or 4 just obvious, no-brainer opportunities every month. Stocks with a real chance of delivering these 50, 100+% gains. We had one that went up a couple of years ago over 1,900%. So that's what I'm going to be teaching people on Thursday. That's what they're going to learn.
Yeah, and we've been talking about, in fairness, we've been talking about political insiders and the corruption coming out of DC, but you were telling me that this is much bigger than that.
Yeah, the everyone, we know about Pelosi, we know about those, but these corporate insiders, so CEOs, CFOs, board members, like the C-suite folks, they're in this as well. You think politicians have an edge? Right. Imagine being the chief medical officer of a pharmaceutical company about to report the results of a drug trial, or a CFO on the day of a big earnings announcement. You know exactly what your company's earnings are. You're the one who filled out the earnings report. Yet these people are allowed to trade their own company stock almost without restriction. But their trades are, I'm not getting mad. Like you said, I don't mind because their trades are public. We can see them inside of 48 hours. So I'll show people how to follow those too. And they're essentially feeding you completely legal inside tips. All you have to do is look and act on them.
And you've been doing this now, Ross, how long? 8 years you've been doing this?
Next month, next month makes 9 years. We launched the service in July of 2017. And look, I'm not saying every single stock's going to go straight up, but we have massively outperformed the stock market over that period. And I'm not doing anything anyone watching cannot do. Right. The information is public. It is legal and ethical to access. And once you know where to look, you just start seeing these little opportunities that most investors completely miss.
Yeah. I mean, gang, this is why I wanted Ross on today, because, whether you're interested in politics or investing or just simply understanding how the system works, this is information every American patriot should know. Ross, again, is hosting a free live training event on Thursday, June 25th, 3 p.m. Eastern. The event is online. Anyone can attend. Just click the link in the description below or go to turleytalksinsidertrading.com. And when you register, Ross does this each time, if I recall, you'll also receive Ross's latest insider stock pick with the full written analysis. So even if you can't attend the live event, be sure to register just so you receive that. I mean, that's enough for you. I mean, Ross, anything else? I mean, it's always,
that's right.
I love all the free stuff that you give to people. It's
well,
wonderful.
I think it's eye-opening, right? So we're doing it Thursday at 3, so people can't attend right then. So it's like, all right, let me show you what is available to you. So my hope is we did one last year that we gave away for free before a training event, and the stock tripled in like 4 months. So this one could well do the same. But I think when you see what's out there, all the information, all laid out in plain English for you, you'll understand why this is so powerful. But so if you can't come, register anyway. I think we usually send the recording out the next day. So we want you to see this information to use it, and I hope a lot of you attend.
Very good, definitely, and also make sure, guys, seating is limited. Ross's free training can fill up very fast, so don't wait. Just a little inside baseball there. Click on that link below. June 25th, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Ross, thanks for everything you do, man. Great to see you.
Oh, my pleasure. Always great to see you, Dr. Steve. Keep up the great work.
Right back at you, my friend.